last 7 postseason meetings. That includes in this series 58 assists to just 16 turnovers. Giannis on the other side has averaged 35 and 15. He got Dame back in the lineup for game 2, but the Bucks have exactly Bupkas to show for it so far. If Damian Lillard was shaken off the rust after not playing for more than a month, maybe he's a little more fluid. Tonight did play 37 minutes, Zeke. What's got to change for the Bucks to make this a series?
I think a little home cooking is due. The second game in Indianapolis, they actually played a pretty decent basketball game. I thought the Pacers were just a little bit better. Coming home now, you should play better. Defensively, you should play better. And I look at Halliburton right now. In his last game, he took 10 threes. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he'll get up 10 threes, in Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee will be a lot better at home defensively than they were on the road.
Milwaukee will win game 3. And the one thing about role players, they seem to perform better at home. We saw Bobby Portis play well in the previous game. Giannis is going to be dominant and consistent. But if they're going to actually win the series, you need a Dame Lillard that you traded for.
Yeah.
And while he's returning from injury, and it was great to see him play those minutes, it's got to be Dame time. And if they're going to advance in this series. And we saw him talk back and forth with Halliburton and Nembhard when he was in street clothes. Now he's in uniform. He got to go out there and he got to put in a lot more work than he did in the previous game if they're going to advance.
I thought he looked fine, which was remarkable. Being out as long as he was and to play 37 minutes, the conditioning must have been there as well. Didn't have a great shooting night, but that happens sometimes. Mm-hmm. Who knows if that had anything to do with the injury? The fact that he's playing with that diagnosis is extraordinary.
Yes, it is.
I think Kuzma will give him a little bit more tonight also. Even though the other night he got 10 shots, he was 5 for 10.
Yeah.
In the game before that, I think he only got 2 or 3 shots.
It was kind of a no-show in game 1 and better in game 2.
I think they'll make a concerted effort to get him more involved, which I think will be helpful to Milwaukee.
Also tonight, Lakers and Timberwolves game 3, and you've probably seen this stat before, but it's worth showing either way because Luka Doncic is number 2
on
the career playoff points per game list. He hit his average in game 2, exactly 31 points. And the Lakers basically won in the first quarter when they outscored the Timberwolves by 19 points and then kind of held on for dear life. Neither team was great down the stretch. Remember, Minnesota had cut it to 9. Then they turned it over on 4 straight possessions. The Lakers looked gassed at the end. What are you looking for tonight in a split series as it moves to Minneapolis?
Minnesota will be tough at home. And not only will they be tough at home, they'll be better defensively. In that game, Conley didn't have a good game in game 2.
0 for 5.
Okay, and Edwards didn't have a good game. Daniels was in foul trouble.
Daniels was 3 for 11, I think. Yeah.
So those are games that only happen to those kind of players maybe once or twice a year out of 82, right? And in the playoffs, very rarely does it happen. So I expect those guys to play much better at home. And not only will they play better at home, I think the Lakers could be in a little trouble tonight because the size, the length, and the physicality really favors Minnesota. And when the Lakers try to play that way, I don't know if they could sustain it. And as you said, they were kind of gassed in the fourth quarter at the end, and JJ had to kind of get on them. As you go through a series, right, I don't know if they can keep up that intensity and that stamina that they have to play with.
Obviously, the way they're set up, they're going to lean on Luka Doncic a lot. He's going to have the ball in his hands a ton, gets LeBron off the ball a little bit. What else do they need to win this series?
So the one thing for the Lakers, to me, I think Luka, he's shown that he's going to get his in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. He's an unstoppable player, and I admire that about him. LeBron James is going to find ways to have signature games. But when you start this series and you look at the seedings, you feel like the Lakers should be the favorite. But when I see these fighters in the ring, I feel like Minnesota should actually win this series. And the reason why I feel like they should win this series is because up front, they have the athleticism, the size, and the physicality in multiple bodies that they could throw at the Lakers. Players like Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, Rudy Gobert,
How about Naz Reid
Naz
coming off
Reid.
the bench?
Right. So those players, if you look at the dynamics of the Lakers front line, Jackson Hayes is their starting big, and LeBron is their starting big. But after that, they thin out a lot.
There's no
so
size.
for Minnesota, this is an opportunity for them to actually upset the Los Angeles Lakers.
No size at all coming off that bench. It's a real issue for the Lakers. Jaylen Brown, 5 years ago, on April 25th, the Boston Celtics drafted Chuck Cooper, and the Washington Capitals picked Earl Lloyd. The next month, Nat Sweetwater Clifton signed with the New York Knicks. Today, All-Stars Steph Curry, Karl Anthony Towns, and Jaylen Brown are telling us more about these barrier-breaking pioneers.
This year, we celebrate the 75th anniversary
of the 3 black pioneers who broke the NBA's color barrier.
Chuck Cooper,
Earl Lloyd,
and Nat Sweetwater Clifton.
They each excelled as college athletes
and as members of the world-famous Harlem Globetrotters.
But when they entered the NBA in 1950,
they cemented their legacy as historic figures in the game.
Despite enduring difficulties and discrimination,
these pioneers laid the groundwork for all who came after them.
In 1950, the Boston Celtics hadn't yet won an NBA title, but they made history when they drafted Chuck Cooper, the first black player ever to be selected.
Chuck Cooper being drafted, it was the ownership of the NBA saying that we can accept integration of the NBA.
Cooper takes the pass and drops in a perfect two-pointer.
Chuck Cooper not only made an indelible mark on the NBA, but the legacies he left behind at Duquesne University and in his native Pittsburgh are just as large.
When my dad came back to Pittsburgh after his NBA career, he got his master's degree, he knew that he needed education. To become the first African-American city department director, to become the first black executive at PNC Bank. As a son, I would want to be able to say, hey, Dad, you deserve it all.
basketball fans in the late 1940s knew the name Nat Sweetwater Clifton. He was a star for the super popular Harlem Globetrotters. But in 1950, he made history with the New York Knicks, becoming the first black player to sign a contract with an NBA team.
That's New York's Sweetwater Clifton.
The goal was to get in there so that he could break a barrier.
Sweetwater Clifton loops one in to delight all Knickerbocker fans present.
With his unique ball handling skills, his game was ahead of its time. Clifton became an all-star and a prototype for today's NBA big man.
Sweetwater was quietly somewhere near the top of the toughest guys ever played in the NBA.
It's Earl Lloyd who holds the distinction of being the first black player to appear in an NBA game. A physical defender and rebounder, Lloyd played 9 NBA seasons and was a key member of the Syracuse Nationals.
And they go on from here to win the 1955 Pro Championship.
Following his playing days, the Detroit Pistons hired him as the NBA's first black assistant coach. Later, he was named the head coach.
He understood that his gift was just not a gift. It was a gift that was designed to help him fulfill his purpose.
You know, it's easy in 2025, when we rarely even use the word integration anymore, to take this sort of thing for granted, but there had to be firsts. And in 1950, those were the guys.
Absolutely, and I appreciate this celebration of the history of the game, because sometimes a lot of conversations are about what the previous players were not. And we've heard these conversations a lot recently. And so for me to see this celebration of these guys who helped, you know, author in an opportunity for us to not only participate in the NBA, but have the opportunity to play the game that we love, that we dream about playing, and like just to have the success and the wins and the losses and everything come with it, the fame and the fortune, the opportunity for a league that's primarily African-American. It's great to see the young players that are now paying attention to the history of the game.
You know, I was fortunate enough to escort Chuck Cooper and his family